Since 1992, Boston Cares has mobilized 60,000 volunteers to fight hunger, address food insecurity, and provide nutritious meals for people living with chronic diseases. This year, Boston Cares volunteers are helping 14 community partners to make over 500,000 meals possible. They're processing donations at food pantries, preparing and serving meals at shelters and nutrition programs, and making sure that low-income residents have access to healthy and affordable food in their own community. Since partnering with the Greater Boston Food Bank way back in 1992, Boston Cares volunteers have generated 4.2 million meals for people in eastern Massachusetts.
The impact of Boston Cares over the years is profound. It's been a lead provider of volunteers throughout our history. We have relied on Boston Cares for not only our everyday work, where folks come in from many companies and many individual situations. The Boston Care partnership ensures the steady and reliable supply of volunteers to meet whatever the need is that has arisen here at the Greater Boston Food Bank. The engagement that Boston Cares has brought to the Greater Boston Food Bank cannot be duplicated. It's one of a kind.
Partners like Community Servings point to other ways that Boston Cares' early support and staying power have been critical to fulfilling their mission.
Boston Cares and I have both been at Community Servings for 20 years. That kind of long-term partnership is exactly why we could go from feeding 30 people in 2 neighborhoods of Boston to now feeding 1,600 people in 20 cities across 300 square miles. Community Servings' roots are in the HIV community. We started feeding 30 people a day when no one else would care for people with AIDS for fear and stigma. Boston Cares was one of the first groups beyond the HIV and gay communities that stepped up and said, we want to make sure that no one who's sick and hungry, struggling with AIDS, goes without a meal every day. But equally important is the continued partnership that now gets us 500,000 meals delivered to 1,600 doorsteps across 300 square miles. We couldn't keep feeding more and more scared, sick, lonely people if it wasn't for friends and partnerships like Boston Cares.
Most recently, Boston Cares has teamed up with The Daily Table, a nonprofit grocery store that brings affordable nutrition to people who are struggling to eat well due to limited budgets. And as The Daily Table expands, they are looking to Boston Cares to help them grow.
We are a healthcare initiative disguised as a grocery store because all our food is nutritious. We worked with a panel of nutrition experts who helped us think about salt, sugar, and fiber levels in our food. So anything that's donated or anything that we prepare is informed by those guidelines. And we know that if you eat healthier food, you improve all the diet-related illnesses. We love our relationship with Boston Cares. We rely heavily on volunteers to supplement our employees to make sure that we're an efficient operation. And though we're very proud that we hired from the community and created 30 jobs, we're also really pleased that we have a committed core of volunteers that help us keep our operation lean and build our capacity. We will absolutely use volunteers as we expand in our second and third stores in Boston because they are an integral part of the operation at Daily Table.
In addition to generating meals for thousands of people in need, Boston Cares food and nutrition projects lead to more committed volunteers, deeper civic engagement, and other capacity-building ripple effects.
One of the striking things about Friday Night Supper that I think is really unique to the program is that there is such a sense of camaraderie among the volunteers. So I really think that a lot of the reason people stay for a long time here is when you walk in and you get to know the people. There's really a great friendship that emerges among the volunteers. In addition to doing a great job for the community, it's such a close-knit group of people, and when you look back on who those people are, so many times they have come from Boston Cares. And you look at our board of directors and it's the same thing. I mean, at least half of our board of directors right now are Boston Cares volunteers.
Over the years, there have been so many corporations that Boston Cares has brought to the food bank, and in such, that creates the opportunity not just for us, but for all the organizations served by Boston Cares. The sharing of those relationships is very powerful. Boston Cares is an entity that doesn't say, this is ours. What they say is, this is yours, how can we help you?
So the partnership with Boston Cares not only brings us people to peel and chop in our kitchen, but it brings a greater awareness in the community. It brings VISTA volunteers, higher skilled volunteers. Ultimately, it leads to board members, to donors, to advocates, policy leaders. It's just a wonderful thing when you think that the ripples of the pond start with one person peeling cucumbers and can lead to an entire policy change at the local, regional, or national level.
Looking at our lifetime experience with the nonprofits being honored this evening, Boston Cares volunteers have made 9.7 million meals available to individuals and families in need. For their outstanding collective impact, we are proud to salute the American Red Cross of Eastern Massachusetts Food Pantry, Boston Living Center, Community Servings, The Daily Table, East End House, Elizabeth Peabody House, Friday Night Supper Program, Greater Boston Food Bank, Harvest Food Pantry, New England Center and Home for Veterans, Pine Street Inn, St. Francis House, Women's Lunch Place, and the Woods-Mullen Shelter.